All right, the big one, Oregon, Ohio State. Number 12, Oregon comes into Columbus, upsets Ohio State 35-28. And they got out to a lead, and it just felt like Ohio State was playing catch up the entire game. But I was very impressed by Oregon, and there's takeaways on both sides of them. Obviously, for Ohio State, the defense, Oregon, very good, just all around game without their two best players. So, yeah, I was very impressed. Tip of the cap to them. What are your thoughts in this game, Ashton?
Okay, so just bear with me here. It's a little bit of a hot take, but I'm going to maybe put most of the blame for this loss. Ohio State should have won this game. This game was in the horseshoe. We've been saying that Ohio State probably has the best offense in the country, possibly at least one of the most talented offenses. And for them not, okay, 28 points is not going to win you many football games when you're playing elite competition. We didn't know that Oregon's defense was quite that good. Oregon maybe played a little, maybe up, kind of above their level, but I'm gonna lay a lot of the blame probably at Ohio State's offense here. I'd say it's hard to expect wins when you're scoring 28 points. CJ Stroud looked uncomfortable. I understand that he threw for 484. He almost threw for 500 yards, and we're talking about it maybe being a little disappointing. But it a lot of his throws, a lot of his yardage came from where receivers were schemed open. Especially the touchdown to Garrett Wilson pops into mind, where they call it just a kind of a quick snap, caught Oregon's defense totally napping. The cornerback was actually looking at his wrist when the play was snapped, and Wilson's all alone. There was some of that stuff. I think that's maybe where C.J. Stroud's numbers looked better. But overall, I didn't really feel that he was going to be able to continually score points against that Oregon defense, and he didn't. 28 points is not enough to win. It's not. And I think the lack of maybe run game from Ohio State, they did not run the ball well. A lot of that's to Oregon's credit, but they're missing two top front seven players. They need to be able to run the ball more. I'm going to lay the blame at Ohio State's offense.
Interesting. I do think that you are right as far as there is blame to be placed at the feet of the offense for sure. My bigger takeaway was probably the defense just being, I don't know, especially the first half. Oregon just kind of did what they wanted. Oregon ran for over 7 yards per carry for the entire game. Ohio State down at 4.1. And it felt like Oregon just really keyed on the run game. Ohio State, man, like before this game, I would have said they might have the best offensive line in the country. And I suppose there's still a chance that they do. But they had a bunch of like little 2 yard runs, and it seemed like they could get 2 yards about any time they wanted, but they weren't getting anything more than that. They had like one run, maybe over 15 yards that I remember. That's just going off of memory. That might not be accurate, but very few good explosive runs at all. Morgan tackled well, filled gaps, and they got push up front too. It was very impressive, both sides of the ball for that matter. I really thought that the Oregon offensive line versus the Ohio State defensive line, that battle for the most part went to Oregon, which was very impressive. And Anthony Brown, like he was a lot better than I expected him to be. He wasn't spectacular, but he was making the throws. And yeah, I guess I have a lot of scattered thoughts about this. Both sides of the ball for Ohio State, especially. You mentioned C.J. Stroud. Yeah, I mean, big time numbers. And it did seem like he got into a rhythm sort of in the fourth quarter where he was doing pretty well. But there's 2 games in a row now where the first half, Ohio State's offense just looked out of sync, couldn't couldn't do what they needed to do really. And you do wonder what would this offense look like if they didn't have maybe the two best receivers in college football, because it does feel like those guys are running wide open a lot of the time, and that's really all you need to do is just hit those wide open guys. And he even had a few throws where he missed them. I think maybe there was one to Jackson Smith and Jigba. It was like a key third down, and he just sailed it. So, and I don't want to be too down on him. He is a redshirt freshman quarterback, but it's clear that there's a drop off from Justin Fields to C.J. Stroud. Ohio State misses him. So, are you concerned about the defense? I know most of the noise is about the defense. You said you think maybe it was more about the offense, but are you concerned about Ohio State's defense as well?
Well, I mean, not really. That's who their defense is. Like I think that's who we were silly to expect anything else. They kept their whole defensive system last year when it wasn't a great defense last year against really elite opponents. They gave up some points. Why are we expecting for that defense to hold Oregon to under 28? Suddenly they're supposed to get better, even and they lost some key components from last year. Like I think this shouldn't really be a surprise that the defense is going to give up 35 points. That's kind of who they are. I mean, you kept them around for another year. You kept Kerry Coombs there. He's for another year. Nothing's really going to change. Not going to magically get better. That's what they are, and you knew that, and you accepted that as Ohio State, and you accepted the fact that you could probably outscore them, and usually you could. And this time you didn't. And that's probably why I'm going to lay the blame at the offense, because the defense, they have issues, understandably. All Oregon had to do was run to the left and it worked. Like any kind of outside tackle play to the left was 10 yards or more. Like it every time. There was no adjustments made. It worked every time. So the defense was what it was. And you have to score more than 35 points to win, and that's the system that you bought into. And I think maybe that's where I'd kind of lay that maybe back at, yeah, either to Ryan Day or the offense for not having changed something, because the defense is what it is at this point.
So to be clear, basically you have a fairly low view of the defense, as do a lot of other people. It's just that you already had that view about them coming into the season, whereas other people thought they had a chance to be elite, and clearly they aren't. So is that a fair way to summarize?
Yeah, no, I think so. Like I was just shocked that we thought something different was going to happen. They lost some really good players, some key guys from last year, and it wasn't even a good defense then. So yeah, and we're shocked that whoa, they didn't hold Oregon to under 28. And to be fair, Oregon just played really well. Like this was a lot of Oregon playing well. I think Oregon was just the better team. If you replay this game a couple different 10 times, I say Oregon wins 6 or 7 times. I think Oregon was simply better. And this is a big shakeup though too. Like this was one of the big ones that I didn't see coming. Ohio State not maybe kind of being a pretender maybe a little bit, and for Oregon to really take that step into the spotlight, this is huge for the Pac-12. Possible playoff berth. It's everything's on the table now for the Pac-12 in general, and this was a massive weekend for them, just to have one good team, kind of just that bell cow that can go, yeah, get you a playoff berth and get into it. Because Oregon has established that. They went on the road and physically beat up a really good Ohio State team. Very impressive from Oregon this week.
Yeah, that's a little bit where I was going to go next. Clearly, Oregon is a playoff contender. In your mind, are they a championship contender, or is this a team we're looking at just to make the playoff, maybe compete a little bit in the first round, but probably going out? Or do you think that their ceiling is actually national title good?
Ooh, I don't want to say national title good. That I don't know. I say playoff. Like I think that they can get to a playoff game and probably get thumped by Alabama, but no shame in that. Like that happens to most people. So, no, I think they could very easily be one of the four best teams in the country. They are not the best team in the country, and there's a little drop off. I think there's quite a bit of a drop off between the best team in the country and Oregon. No offense to them. I don't know if Anthony Brown can win them a national title. I think, yeah, and maybe the lack of receiving threat that they have decent receivers. They do. They're not game breakers like some of the other schools that they're going to be competing for a title. So maybe that's where I would put the little bit of the blame. I think the defense is legitimate. The defense is as good as anyone else's. I would say if they get Thibodeau back, if they get Justin Flo back, which they may not, but if they do, I think they could. Their defense can go with anyone. They're a step below, and honestly, I don't know if they can get there. I don't know if they can get there.